Welcome to Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity, a playbook for living healthier and longer. I'm Josie. Along with being a certified personal trainer and longevity enthusiast, I am also a data and AI executive with 4 master's degrees, including one in AI from Johns Hopkins. In each episode, I'll share simple technology and AI-backed strategies with practical steps that you can use to build your own longevity roadmap. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so be sure to check with your physician before trying anything we discuss on the show. Most people don't fail at longevity because they don't know what to do. They fail because who they are keeps sabotaging what they know. Pause for a second and think about that. Everyone listening already knows the basics. Sleep more, move your body, eat real food, lift something heavy, manage stress. None of that is controversial and none of that is a secret. And yet, most people don't stick with it. They start, they stop, they restart, and then they blame themselves. So today, I want to talk about something that almost never comes up in longevity conversations. Personality. There are 5 longevity personality types that I see over and over again. You're going to recognize yourself in probably at least one of them. And here's the thing, only one of them actually works long term. So let's figure out which one you are, and more importantly, how to make your personality work for you instead of against you. Because, spoiler alert, you're not broken, you just need a different strategy. Longevity has become incredibly complicated. It looks like something you need a spreadsheet for, maybe something you need endless discipline for, or something only hardcore people can maintain. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear, or maybe this is what you want to hear based on where you are. Longevity doesn't break down because people don't know enough. It breaks down because real life applies pressure. Stress, work, kids, travel, bad sleep, emotional overload, the week where everything goes sideways. Longevity isn't about what you do on your best days, it's about what you default to on your worst ones. And that default, it's not logic, it's not motivation, it's not willpower, it's personality. And personality shows up when things aren't ideal. When you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when discipline runs out and you're just trying to survive the week. That's where most longevity plans fail because they're built for the version of you that has time, energy, and perfect conditions, not the version of you that exists most of the time. So if you've ever started strong and fizzled out, or if you've ever felt like you're the problem, you're not. You just haven't designed a system that matches how you actually operate. And before we dive into the 5 types, here's the most important thing to remember. None of these are good or bad. They're not character flaws. They're just your default, and your default can be redesigned. Let's start with the first type, the optimizer. This person is always tweaking. New routine, new supplement, new wearable, new protocol, new study that changes everything. They love data, they love research, and they love doing things, quote, right. Optimizers are usually smart, driven, and genuinely committed to health, which is exactly why this one is dangerous, because optimization feels like progress to them. Every tweak feels productive, every upgrade feels responsible, every adjustment feels like momentum. But here's what's actually happening. They never stay with anything long enough to let it compound. They switch plans before habits become automatic. They're constantly resetting instead of accumulating. And to be clear, the optimizer is doing things. They're just doing different things every 3 weeks. Their problem isn't inaction, it's instability. Longevity is slow. Optimization rewards novelty. Those two don't work together. The optimizer often knows more than anyone else, but their biology never gets the message. You'll know you're this type if you've ever reorganized your supplement drawer by mechanism of action instead of just taking those darn supplements. Or if you've restarted your fitness program more than 3 times in a year because you found a, quote, better approach. Or if your friends have just stopped asking you about your routine because it's different every time. And if you've identified with this type, here's something you can try. Pick 3 habits. boring ones. A sleep window, protein target, something like a movement baseline. Now commit to not changing them for an entire year. I know, you're already thinking about how you could make this better, and that's the problem. You can optimize how you execute them. Try a new pillow, switch your protein powder, get better walking shoes, but the core habits, don't change that. Channel that optimization energy into execution, not redesign. Because your body doesn't care about your spreadsheet, it cares about repetition. The second type is the all or nothing. This is the Monday reset personality. When they're in, they're completely in. Perfect diet, perfect workouts, perfect routine, everything dialed. They love clean starts, fresh plans, clear rules until life happens. A stressful week hits, a trip disrupts the schedule, sleep falls apart, one meeting runs late, and suddenly everything collapses. One missed workout turns into quitting entirely. One off-plan meal turns into I blew it. One disruption becomes an excuse to stop. This personality doesn't lack discipline, it lacks resilience. Their plan has no margin for being human. You'll know you're this type if you've said, I'll start fresh on Monday more times than you've actually made it to Wednesday. Or if you've ever skipped a workout because you only had 20 minutes and your plan said 45. Or if one bad meal has ever turned into a bad week because the day was already ruined. If this sounds like you, here's something to try. Build a minimum viable version of every habit. Your perfect workout is 60 minutes? Great. Your minimum is 10. Your perfect diet is meal prepped and macro tracked? Awesome. Your minimum is protein at every meal and vegetables twice a day. Your perfect sleep routine is a whole ritual? Cool. Your minimum is lights out by 11 p.m. And here's the key. The minimum counts just as much as the perfect version. Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is to never fully stop. All or nothing people are incredible at the all. You just need to make peace with the good enough on rough weeks. And here's your new rule. Never miss twice. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the start of a new habit. Your goal isn't to be perfect, but it is to avoid the second miss. The third type is the knowledge collector. And confession time, this one's me. Well, this one plus the optimizer. I'm a hybrid. The knowledge collector optimizer combo, which is basically the worst combination. I love researching things, I love reading things, and I love learning things. And for years, I thought that made me good at longevity. And it turns out it didn't, because here's what actually happened. I'd read longevity papers obsessively. That's the collector. Then I'd immediately redesign my entire routine based on what I learned. That's the optimizer. So I was learning constantly and changing constantly, which meant I never really stuck with anything long enough for it to work. I'd read a new study on sleep optimization, immediately buy blackout curtains and a new sleep tracker, and restructure my entire evening routine based on circadian biology research. And then 3 weeks later, I'd read something about temperature regulation or sleep cycles, and then I'd completely redesign everything again. I was treating my biology like a software system that needed constant updates. And in contrast, one of my friends who just goes to bed at 10 p.m. every night, doesn't track anything, and doesn't even know what cortisol is, has been sleeping great for a decade. And that's when I really realized that I wasn't optimizing for longevity. I was optimizing for that feeling of being smart about longevity. And there is a big difference. The knowledge collector is incredibly informed. They listen to all the podcasts. They read all the studies. They understand the mechanisms. They're always learning, always preparing, and always almost ready. But learning becomes a hiding place. Because as long as you're researching, you don't have to commit. And as long as you're preparing, you don't have to risk failure. You'll know you're this type if you have like 47 browser tabs open about longevity protocols, but your actual habits actually haven't changed in 6 months. Or if people ask you for health advice and you give them a 20-minute answer when they just wanted to know if they should eat more protein. Or if you're waiting for the definitive study on cold plunges before you even try a cold shower. And here's a way that I finally shifted away from this type. I gave myself a rule. No new information until I've practiced the thing I've learned for 90 days. Read about zone 2 cardio? Great. Now do it for 3 times a week for 90 days before researching anything else. Learned about protein timing? Awesome. Execute it consistently for 90 days. No podcasts about new protocols. No studies about optimization. Just execution. And here's what happened. My habits finally caught up to my knowledge. So if you're a knowledge collector, your intervention is simple. Stop learning and start doing. Pick one thing you already know works. Do it for 90 days, then, and then only then, add something new. The fourth type is the chaos reactor. This person says things like, I'll get back on track once things calm down. But things will never calm down. Work gets busy, family needs attention, stress spikes, someone gets sick, the schedule implodes. Life doesn't pause for anyone. This personality isn't lazy or undisciplined. They're just waiting for conditions that never arrive. This personality relies on ideal conditions. They don't have default habits per se, they don't have minimum standards, and they don't have fallbacks. So when chaos shows up, and it always does, everything disappears. Their health is the first thing to go when pressure hits, because it's not built into their system. It's something they do when they have time. You'll know you're this type if your fitness tracker thinks you died 3 times last month because your routine has zero consistency. Or if you've ever said, I'll start eating better once this project is over, and then another project immediately starts. Or if your idea of a workout plan is whatever I feel like when I have the energy. And here's something you can try. Build chaos-proof habits. Not habits for ideal conditions, habits for disasters. What's your workout when you only have 15 minutes? What's your food when you're traveling? What's your sleep routine when everything's on fire? And here's how. Identify your 3 most common disruptions, then build a minimum protocol for each one. So for example, if travel wrecks your routine, bodyweight workout in the hotel room, protein bar backup, sleep mask, and melatonin. That's your travel protocol, non-negotiable. The chaos reactor isn't bad at longevity. They just haven't designed for their actual life. Your habits shouldn't require perfect conditions, and they should be able to survive the imperfect ones. The final personality, and the only one that I think actually works long-term, is the quiet consistent. This person isn't flashy. Their habits are boring. Their routines are simple. They're not trying to optimize anything, and they're not chasing the latest protocol, and they're definitely not waiting for perfect conditions. They just show up. They miss days, and they don't spiral. They adapt without quitting, and they don't chase perfection. Longevity isn't a project for them. It's part of their identity. They don't ask what's optimal. They ask, what will I be doing 10 years from now? Their habits survive stress, they compound quietly, and over time, they look like a completely different person. And here's what makes them different. They don't have motivation, they have systems. They're not more disciplined than you, they just remove the need for discipline. Their workout clothes are laid out the night before, their protein is already prepped, their sleep time isn't negotiable, and there's no decision fatigue, no willpower required, it just happened. And here's the key. The quiet consistent isn't a separate personality type. It's just what happens when you take any of the other 4 types and adapt them. The optimizer who commits to 3 habits for a year becomes quiet consistent. The all or nothing who builds minimal viable habits becomes quiet consistent. The knowledge collector who stops learning and starts doing becomes quiet consistent. And the chaos reactor who builds disaster-proof defaults becomes quiet consistent. It's not about changing who you are. It's about designing systems that work with who you are. This personality doesn't feel exciting until decades later. There's no dramatic transformation, just someone who quietly aged better than everyone around them. So let's bring this home. Longevity isn't a motivation problem. It isn't a discipline problem, and it definitely isn't an information problem. It's a personality problem. Most people don't need more advice. They need fewer habits designed to survive real life. And here's what to do. First, identify your type. Be honest. You probably recognize yourself in at least one of these, maybe two. That's fine. The optimizer who's always tweaking, the all or nothing who quits when things aren't perfect, the knowledge collector who knows everything but does nothing, the chaos reactor who loses everything when life gets messy. Whichever one resonated, that's your starting point. Then start applying the suggested solutions. If you're the optimizer, pick 3 habits for 1 year, no changes. If you're the all or nothing, make sure you build your minimal viable version. Never miss twice. If you're the knowledge collector, have that 90-day execution rule. And if you're the chaos reactor, design for disasters, not ideal conditions. And third, aim for that quiet consistent. Not because you need to become a different person, but because quiet consistent is just your personality adapted to work for you instead of against you. The goal isn't perfection, and the goal isn't optimization, and the goal definitely isn't intensity. The goal is to become default healthy. That's not impressive, it's not optimized, it is just quietly consistent. And that's how longevity works. Now go do something today that your 90-year-old self will thank you for. Thank you for spending your time with me today on Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity. If you found this episode helpful, please follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. Before we wrap up, a quick but important reminder. Adding Years is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen, supplements, or exercise routine. What you hear on this show reflects personal opinions, experiences, and not medical advice. I'm Josie, and this is Adding Years. Until next time, here's to living better, longer.